Welcome to the Farm Life Podcast, brought to you by the Kings County Farm Bureau. I'm your host, Dusty Ferentz, and Executive Director of the Farm Bureau, and today is episode 4. Our guests are Paul Gillum and Andrrew Brazil, and our first interview will be with Paul, who's running for District 1 of the Kings County Water District. Paul, thanks for being with us today. What can you tell us about your background?
You bet. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. So I grew up here in Kings County, lived here virtually all my life other than going to college and a short stint right after. I've lived right here and grew up in the 4-H and FFA programs here in Kings County, Hanford FFA, and so on. And I just love the Valley. Been around here my entire life, like I said. And currently I'm a partner in a meat business in Fresno, and we also farm right here on the north end of Hanford and raise my family here as well. I have a wife and 2 kids that I'm very proud of, all three of them, and really love the Valley, love Hanford, and it's pretty awesome.
That's great. For our listeners that don't know, the north end of Hanford is kind of District 1 of the Kings County Water District. And why don't you tell them a little bit about why you chose to run for this office?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the older I get, the more people I look back on and the influences that I've had in my life. And really, I just want to serve. I think the best leadership that we can have, no matter if it's in business or in our community, is really to be a servant leader. And really, that's what I want to do, is I just want to serve our community. And I want to give back to the voters of my district, but the entire area of Kings County Irrigation District. And I think it's important that we have people that have transparency and really care about the farmers. This water deal is a really, really big deal, and we need to keep local control. If we don't do that, we're going to have big problems. And I've dealt on other boards. I've been on school boards. In fact, I'm currently on a school board now. And the more that I see coming out of Sacramento and Washington, D.C., they just don't care about us locally. And I think the more we can have local control, the better we're going to be. And so that really motivated me to get involved and make sure that we're doing the right thing for the people in our area.
That's great. Around here at Farm Bureau, we agree with you. Local control is key to a happy and healthy life and a booming economy. And we got to keep Sacramento and DC out of that as much as we can. So we appreciate you running and are glad you're up for the challenge.
Yeah, it is a challenge for sure. And I've had a lot of people say things like, you're a glutton for punishment, or why in the heck are you doing this? And frankly, if our forefathers didn't step up and do what they did and put their time in jeopardy, in their case, put their lives and their family lives in jeopardy, fortunately, we don't have to do that these days, but we are putting our time in jeopardy, and that's the most precious commodity that we have. Mm-hmm. Water is probably a close second for sure, and we'll talk about that, I know, but it's really important for us to get involved. And I have said for a long time, we need people to do the right thing. We have to step up. But words are cheap and actions are so much more. And we have to put our neck on the line. We have to put ourselves out there and let the voters decide who's going to be on the board. And then we have to be accountable to those people. And I think it's really important to stand up, say what you believe, and then be accountable for such. And then learn the entire time as you're going along. We really have to continue to learn. And that's really my focus as well. I want to continue to learn.
Spoken like a true servant leader. We all got to step up. We got to do the hard work. We got to be willing to take our lashes when they come and the rewards when they come and do the hard work and do it for the greater good. You're volunteering to do work on a board that's not going to pay you, and it's really not going to benefit you directly. It's for the community, and we applaud you for that.
I appreciate it. I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine this morning, and we were talking about me running for the board, and I told him, just like I'll tell everybody, listen to this, I'm not doing it for myself. And quite frankly, I'm not even doing it for my kids, because it's not going to affect my farm that much.
Right.
Obviously, it does directly, but overall, the big impact is all of the other people that I represent. Not only the farmers, because obviously I want to represent the farmers and people like us, but also the people in town, because it makes a huge difference. And there's a lot of people in town that don't know how much this water, our SGMA situation, is going to affect them. And if we just sit on our laurels and do nothing, it's going to raise the water prices in town. It's going to affect how much water they can and cannot use. It's going to change a lot of things in their life. And we really need to stand up for those people as well.
Yeah, and I think it's unfortunate that a lot of people don't realize how much water in Kings County affects everything. Agriculture is directly responsible for 1 in 4 jobs in Kings County. And that's just on farm. That doesn't include the trickle down effect. But if we don't manage water properly in the area, what's going to happen to our economy? And it's important that people in town understand that.
Yeah, it's a great point. I remember growing up in those ag classes, and we would have like a day that our teacher would talk about, can you name something that's not affected because of agriculture, or frankly, because of water in this case? And we would go through a lot of different jobs, from seamstress to, the dry cleaner, if you will. But all of us, particularly in Hanford and in this valley, are affected by agriculture and affected by water. And if we are not taking care of the things that are going to keep agriculture going, we're not going to be able to sustain our economy. I remember when I was a kid, and people would say, as go the dairies, so goes the economy here in Kings County. And it's really true, and we've seen that shift a little bit. Unfortunately, there's a lot of dairies that have gone out of business, but there's a lot of other commodities that have taken their place, from the nuts that are on the trees to other commodities that we're farming. And it's super important for us to stay involved and make sure that we are taking care of agriculture, not only for our valley and right here in Hanford, but we literally feed the world.
Literally feed the world. That's right. That's right. Food grown right here is shipped all over the world. That's another topic for another day. But there's a port strike going on the East Coast right now, and outside of water, that's going to affect us all as well. We don't have to talk about that today, but I hope people pay attention to that and look at what's going on and realize that this hurts everybody.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your campaign, what you guys are up to, how your fundraising efforts are going?
Yep. For people who know me, they know that I don't like to ask for money, and I've had to do that a little bit. And quite frankly, it's a humbling experience. Yeah. And I'm not asking for money for myself. In fact, on this podcast, I'm not asking for people to send in money or anything like that. Just want to educate people on what it takes to run a campaign. I've run other campaigns. I'm not a politician, but like I said, I was on school boards before, and I'm on a school board now. And every time I've just funded it myself. I've had family and friends come alongside and say, we'd like to give you money. And I chose not to do that in those cases. In this case, I honestly prayed about it. My wife and I talked about it, and I chose to ask people for money, strategic people, of course, and people that care about this very deeply. And the reason is because it's not about me. It's really about the people that I'm going to be representing, and the people who are going to be affected by all of these water policies that the Kings County Irrigation District puts into play. And the only reason we're doing any kind of fundraising and how our campaign is working is we're taking that money, and 100% of that money is going towards information to get out there. So obviously get my name out there. We're having yard signs literally going up today and tomorrow.
Great.
We have mailers going out. We're going to be doing some walking and have some pamphlets to hand out to people, particularly in town, because those people really need to understand how this impacts us. So that's the main point of the campaign, is just asking people to come around us and help us. The biggest thing that they can do, including listening to this, is spread the word. Tell more people about the podcast. Tell more people about what we're doing. Come and talk to us. I love learning. I love hearing other people's perspectives. And the more word we can get out there, the more successful we're going to be in the campaign.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think it's important for our listeners to understand that Kings County Farm Bureau just last month did decide to endorse both you and Andrew. We really want to get behind you guys and support you and make sure people understand to get out and vote for you guys, that we need a change in leadership at the water district, and you're one big part of that.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. I know that's a rare thing for the Kings County Farm Bureau, because I know in this day and age we don't want to upset people, or people have different perspectives like we were talking about, and we don't want to alienate somebody, because the Farm Bureau really is, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but really is trying to help us farmers and
right.
people, and promote agriculture. And you guys do a great job of that. But I am proud and humbled that you guys have stepped up and endorsed us, helped us, and I really appreciate that, because in fact, I have that on my signs, that endorsed by Kings County Farm Bureau, because I'm that proud of it. Good. And I think a lot of people in town really respect farmers, and they respect the Farm Bureau. You guys don't have an agenda other than take care of farmers and take care of agriculture. So I appreciate that, and it's very valuable to me.
That's great. We sure hope it helps. So let's talk a little bit about the water district and what you hope to see change as we get through this next election at the water district.
Yeah, this is a great topic, and Because I've been on some boards, I have some experience in the Brown Act. I have some experience in parliamentary procedure, of course. And I think we truly need leaders that are transparent, that have common sense, that really are those servant leaders like I was talking about, that care about others more than themselves. And we really have to do that. I've had conversations with people on the board currently, and either I didn't get calls back, or when I did get a call back, they aren't reporting out in closed session, which is a complete Brown Act violation. We just need to be transparent and let everybody know exactly what's going on. This is a government agency, and it's government money, quite frankly. I know they get money from farmers like myself and people who are renting water or utilizing the water, the surface water in Kings County, and I think that's great. But we need to be accountable for that. It needs to be an open book. Anybody should be able to go down and see exactly what's going on, get return phone calls, be able to have a meeting that we can accommodate more than 10 people at a meeting at one time. It's just, it's not the way that we should be running things. And quite frankly, scrutiny is a good thing because that's how I get better. And there are going to be people that disagree with me, and I would encourage them to come to those meetings and say, this is how we should do it, or give their perspective on it. Because ultimately, I work for them. If I get elected, I wouldn't work for the director. Frankly, I don't work for the board. I work for my constituents. And that's super important. And a lot of people forget that. We work for the people who put us in office.
That's an often overlooked part of leadership, right? It's not just about directing what happens with an organization. It's taking the input from your constituents and taking into consideration their thoughts and needs and making the right and oftentimes hard decisions so that everybody's taken care of to the best of the organization's ability.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We alluded to this earlier in the conversation, but why would somebody do this job? Because you're never going to please everybody.
No.
And quite frankly, if everybody agrees with you all the time, somebody's lying to you for sure.
Ronald Reagan, I think, said it best. If we wanted to make everybody happy, we'd sell them ice cream.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, and we take that position around here at Farm Bureau a lot. If everybody's satisfied with the work that we're doing, we're probably not working for our members. And it sounds like you might take that theory into this role. If all of your constituents are happy, maybe you're not making the tough decisions that need to be made.
That's correct. And quite frankly, even myself, sometimes I'm not going to be happy in the decisions that I have to make because we're going to have to make tough decisions.
Right.
And we're going to have to do things that are best for the entire district, not just what's best for, say, my area, Area 1.
Yeah.
There's 5 of us on the board, or hopefully we will be on the board, but there are 5 people on the board. And I appreciate the fact when there's a 3-2 vote. And that rarely happens. And there needs to be some serious discussion and some serious disagreement because I don't have to agree with the person sitting next to me. In fact, we do this often at work. If we disagree, it's actually a better thing because we believe that in this case, 5 brains are better than 1. And if we only had 1 saying it, then we don't even need a board.
Right.
We need all 5 of us chiming in, saying what we agree with, what we disagree with, and how to make it better. Because sometimes you may say something that triggers something in my mind that I said, wow, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
And now that may change my vote during discussion time. Or we may still disagree, but what the board decides to do, if it's a 3-2 vote, then we're going to go with what the board decides to do, and we're going to pay the repercussions for it, good or bad.
That's right. That's right. Disagreement without conflict, right? We all got to remember that.
That's right.
Yeah. So we'd be remiss to have a podcast or any conversation in Kings County right now without mentioning SGMA. Have you considered what you think the water district's role is in SGMA and in the local groundwater sustainability agency?
Yeah, and I want to kind of circle back to another question that you said as well because they tie together. The reason I ran for the board, really, I had been asked and people approached me talking about, running for the board. And honestly, the nail in the coffin for me, or the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, whatever analogy, was when they decided to get out of the JPA. When the board decided to get out of the JPA and say that it's not their responsibility or say that they didn't fail at that it broke my heart. My stomach hurt, and it still hurts for that because we can't be successful with SGMA if we're not participating in it with our surface water. Because there's so many different ways to skin a cat, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be, the whole point of SGMA is for us to be sustainable and stop groundwater mitigation. I hope I'm saying that right. By 2040. And we need to stop the subsidence of water, essentially, is what we're trying to do by 2040. And we can do that because we have underground storage. There's all kinds of talk about building dams, about doing all these things, but we have God-given storage right underneath us that we can be sinking water, and we can be using that water in the dry years to help keep that balance. And if we don't participate in it as Kings County Water District, we are completely dropping the ball because Kings County Water District controls the surface water. And if they're controlling the surface water, they have to participate in it to make Sigma successful. There's no question about it. We have to be part of the solution.
That's a great answer. Sigma is called a groundwater management bill, but you can't manage groundwater without managing surface water. They're directly tied together. And you're exactly right. We've got to consider both surface and groundwater as we achieve sustainability in the subbasin.
Well, I was talking about it with a friend this morning, and we were talking about when the river's running. I live about 1.5 miles to 2 miles from the Kings River, the north side of Hanford, Excelsior area. And I can tell in my pump when the river's running. And first time I told my wife that, she's like, that's like 2 miles away. But it makes a huge difference. That water is sinking down, it's refilling those aquifers, and it's feeding to the south because the water runs downhill.
Right.
And we have higher elevation on that north side, right where the river is, than we do the rest of the county as it goes south. And so that water is refilling those aquifers on a real life basis. Not to mention the fact in the heavy years when we have heavy rain, then we can restore that water and then utilize it in the drier years. That's the whole point of all of this, how it was originally set up. And we've forgotten that. We need to go back and look at history and see why we put these rivers in, why, well, God put them in, I guess, in a lot of cases, but we have wells that are pulling out of the ground that's underground rivers. And that's being recharged by our surface water.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. All right, Paul, open-ended. What else do you need people to know about you and your campaign?
Yeah, I thought about this one, and I can't think it goes back to that transparency. My job is to serve others. We talk about it at work all the time. We have an upside down triangle at the company that we run. I have partners, and we really believe that the higher you get in the organization, the more bosses we have. And I feel the same way with this. The higher I get, it's not really like a super prestigious position for sure, but if I get placed on the board through the vote, then I just gained a whole bunch more bosses. My job is to serve the people of not only Area 1, but also the entirety of Kings County Water District. And I really just want to serve people. And if they can come to me and let me know what their concerns are, how I can help them. If they're having a specific situation, I'll work with them on that. If there's bigger situations, we have a big hill to climb, of course, up in Sacramento with the lawsuit still going on. Mm-hmm. We really need to come together and work as a team to make all this water work for the valley.
Wonderful. If people want to know more about you, where can they find it?
Yep, great question. So I'm not a social media guy, but because of the campaign, I do have Facebook. It's Paul Gillum for Kings County Water District, Area 1. That's on Facebook. Also, my website is the same thing, Paul Gillum for Kings County Water District 2024. So both of those are on there. I have a website as well as you'll see signs coming up. They'll see mailers. But the most important thing, if people can just word of mouth is the best advertisement. And if you can talk to your friends and they talk to their friends, it just becomes a great impact for my campaign. And I know Andrew's campaign as well. And hopefully we can get this thing turned around.
That's great news, Paul. We wish you the best of luck. Kings County Farm Bureau fully endorses and supports Paul's efforts to be elected to the Water District. And we're here to help.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. And we appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. For this part of the show, we're doing an interview with Andrrew Brazil, who's running for Kings County Water District, District 5. Andrew, thanks for being with us. And will you tell our listeners a little bit about your background?
Fourth generation farmer. Our family's been around in the same area since the 1920s. We farm all kinds of different crops and just getting involved in the water board. I see all the things going on and I don't like it. And I want to keep things going for the future generations and be able to farm all the land that we have, because the way it looks, we won't be able to.
Yeah, things are looking a little scary out there. We got to figure this out.
They are.
So you mentioned it, but tell us a little bit more about why you decided to run for the water district.
Honestly, I went to that water board when they voted out the GSA, and I was kind of upset about it. I mean, I wasn't too involved, didn't know too much about it, but I felt like everyone on the board is local farmers, and we should have the most interest in keeping this going around here and helping, keep the water here. And when I seen they voted it out and sent it to the supervisors, I figured, well, I thought that supervisors already have enough to do. What's their interest in it? And it kind of just ticked me off. And then, just talking to other people around there in our area and talking to Garrett, he pushed me to get more involved and to run against the guy that's been in this position since I think the mid '90s.
He's been there for a while. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I could be wrong, but that's what I was been told.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to learn that.
So,
Well, what do our listeners need to know about you? What do they need to know that should motivate them to vote for you?
well, that's a good question. I mean, I'm gonna do my best. I mean, like I said, and to grow food and grow affordable food for all of us. And the way it's been going is, I think everyone's kind of just got too comfortable, and it just they haven't had to worry about this problem, and now it's a problem. And like I said, they just kind of pushed it out and didn't really care. Now they're pushing it on the supervisors, and I think it needs to be people that have interest and own the land that we need to fight for to keep it.
Yeah, a lot of people are asking, why anybody would want to run for that job right now.
Sometimes I think I'm crazy, and like I've told people before. I mean, I'm sure I don't know everything about what I'm getting into, but I'm willing to fight for it. I mean, we have to.
And I think that's what people are looking for. That's the reason that the Farm Bureau decided to endorse you. Endorsing you and Paul was the first endorsement we've made in close to a decade around here, and really took a lot of thoughtful consideration. And when we're happy to do it,
Thank you.
of course. But we did it because we think you guys are willing to do the hard work and do the things that need to be done at the district.
I still have a lot to learn, but I mean, I'm willing to do it.
That's all we can ask for.
And what makes me mad is they know a lot more than we probably know at this time, and I felt like they gave up. If that's the right word to say, but
That's the sentiment a lot of people have used to describe that situation.
And they're all nice guys, but I mean, in this scenario, we need to be on top of it.
We need a little fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk about your campaign a little bit. How's it working to get you elected? How are things going on the campaign trail?
I have a good team behind me. They've been doing a lot of stuff that I would never think about doing.
Yeah.
They put up all the signs last week, and now they're going to send out mailers, I think, in the next couple of days.
Great.
A lot of the neighbors and stuff have been backing me and wanting me to get in there and get things changed. But it's been going well, to be honest with you.
That's good news. That's good news.
So
I think a lot of people will be surprised to learn how many votes from the city of Hanford itself count in your election. You guys looking at that closely?
Yes, mine there's not as many as everyone else's, but there's still quite a few.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to get them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
People don't realize, if they don't vote, they don't understand their water bill is going to go a lot higher, and what they can and can't grow in their yards or plants or, stuff like that.
Yeah, I find a lot that a lot of people in town don't understand how much this district in particular will affect them. So
yeah, you're right.
Got to get the word out there. Yeah. So what do you hope to see happen at the district if you're elected?
Well, that's a big question. A good question. I'm not in there yet, but they have to. There's got to be change. You hear rumors of things, but I'm not in there to see what's really going on yet. There's plenty of water. It just has not been managed right, or there's the buddy system to where it's going to other people for whatever agreements they made in the past, and we need to keep it here locally. because we're pumping water and you go other places and there's water flowing down canals and there's no reason for that, and it needs to stay around here. Like I said, to grow cheaper food and make things more affordable, and just more food, more water is more jobs. It's more tax dollars for the Kings County and everything around us. So
Yeah, you're hitting on a lot of points that we talk about around here at Farm Bureau. Our work, and what you're in, and this endeavor for you is really not about farming entirely. It's really about our community. Without agriculture here in Kings County, there's not much of an economy, and there's not much community.
exactly. And then we start getting food from other countries and stuff like that. Well, they say what they spray on them, but a lot of these other countries are able to use products that we haven't been able to use in 15, 20, 30 years. And it's safe to come to our stores, but, the health factor, I think, is better local.
Yeah, and it's fresher and just tastes better.
Yes, exactly. And it's all Pixar.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about Sigma. That's the big question around our office all the time. What role do you believe the water district has in the Mid Kings River GSA?
Well, I mean, we need to figure out what we can pump and get more water here. I mean, the water's there. And when it do have wet years, we need to be able to store it, sink it, and everything like that. So the water board needs to put all these things into place so we can do it, because if we don't, Sacramento's going to take our water. And what are we going to do then? Once they take it, you're pretty much done.
That's right.
And I don't know. I mean, you can go on and on for days about that. But we just need to fight to keep our land and everything.
Keep it all productive.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it fair to say that you are of the opinion that Sigma is not just a groundwater law or problem, but it's a ground and surface water problem?
Yes, I think so. Because even on dry years, we still have water. It's went out to the ocean or other places it shouldn't have.
Yeah, right.
And a lot of the places this water's going, well, they have more money than us. These bigger cities where they could pump.
Yeah.
And it should stay here to, like I said multiple times, to grow food and create money for our county.
Right. All right. Well, what else do people need to know about you, Andrew?
39. I got 3 kids. Married, of course.
Okay.
Just family man and like to work and like to dairy, like to farm, like to grow all these things. And I'm just scared of the future, what it holds for my son and my kids.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Before we started talking, you mentioned that you farmed in multiple GSAs. Do you have any thoughts about how things are going in one GSA over another?
The Kuya GSA is already, they're how much you're pumping, and if you go certain tiers, they're going to charge us. And then the other one, Tulare Lake Basin, is the one I feel is getting hit hardest. And where mine in Tulare Lake Basin is where we have the most ditch water.
Okay.
And it's weird that they're sinking more water there and they have more ditch water, but they're getting hit harder than these other places that we have very little ditch water.
Right.
So it doesn't. No one's on the same page. It's kind of like everyone's making their own rules and they're telling you you're going to do this and you're going to do that, and we all need to open our eyes, and everyone needs to get together and say, no, this needs to be a broad plan.
Right.
I mean, what do you think of that? I mean, I'm sure you talk about it all the time.
Yeah, it's really that's a difficult question to answer, because the way the law is written, right? The
Yes.
Sigma says that local agencies are to determine what sustainability is, and then the Department of Water Resources should sign off on that, right? But there's so many varying opinions about what's sustainable, where, and why, and how.
And I mean, do you feel that a lot of these people that are making the rules and the laws have nothing to do? They have no clue about farming or what we're growing or what we're trying to do.
Oh, 100%
So-
from Sacramento. Yeah, there's no real world experience in agriculture that has any idea what their decisions and what their laws mean for
Exactly.
boots on the ground. Yeah, that's a huge problem in this in this entire Sigma world we're living in now is a lack of knowledge, lack of experience.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if people want to learn more about you, do you have a social media presence, a website, anything like that?
Yes, they have a website. It's Andrrew Brazil for Waterboard 2024. It's and then we have a Facebook account, and then go on there, and there's different links to click on. And then my personal ones, of course, I post on.
All right.
I don't do much on those, but starting to.
Sure. Well, that's great. Like to remind our listeners that Farm Bureau has endorsed Andrrew Brazil and Paul Gillum for their races at the Kings County Water District. We encourage everybody to get out and vote, and hopefully you guys are voting for these two gentlemen that we've talked about today.
Appreciate everything you guys have done.
We're all in this together.
And I'm not a politician, as you can tell.
That's all right.
But I want to get stuff done.
Got to get stuff done.
So-
Got to make some change.
You could talk all day and not get anything done, but I want to get to work.
That's a great note to go out on. Let's get it done. Thanks.